First thing is we wanted to elevate from looking at the trees to the forest. So when you looked at that, how could we reshape our narrative to actually distinguish ourselves in a way that nobody's ever thought about before? So my name is Malcolm Bruce. I am the CEO of Edmonton Global, which is the regional economic development company whose 14 member municipalities have issued my mandate to grow the economy in the Edmonton region. And I do so by two principal mechanisms. One is foreign direct investment, so attracting investment in, and the other one is to help companies expand their market export opportunities.
I see on the website that it says that Edmonton Global's purpose is about radical transformation. That was interesting because I see radical repeated in several places on the website. What's the origin story of that? What drove that strategic decision?
Well, we had a lot of conversation around the term radical transformation because, quite frankly, I think it's the communities that established Edmonton Global 8 years ago really wanted to see how we could break the mold. How can we do things differently to really distinguish the Edmonton region from others? I mean, there are probably 50 or 100 like-minded regions across the globe. So what is that differentiation factor? First thing is we wanted to elevate from looking at the trees to the forest. So when you looked at that, how could we reshape our narrative to actually distinguish ourselves in a way that nobody's ever thought about before? And a great example is in global logistics. And so we've been able to weave a narrative around global logistics that's been quite successful when you think about where we are geographically located in North America. We're the most northern major metropolitan region. So if you think about circumpolar routes of aircraft, they tend to get to Edmonton before they go anywhere else in the North American marketplace. You think about sea lanes, same thing.
Hmm.
Shipping from Seoul, Korea to Prince Rupert on the West Coast is faster than shipping from Seoul, Korea to Vancouver or to LA because the world is round and not flat. So it was just about different ways to look at a problem that has really helped shape this region as a differentiator in the global marketplace.
There are 14 regions in the greater Edmonton area that have come together. Is this a scale question? What was the impetus behind coming together within a single entity under Edmonton Global?
That's a great question about how did we get to this regional approach to economic development. So first of all, we had what I would call an educational moment. So we've had some international site selectors. One in particular was out of Toronto,
Hmm.
one of the 64 gilded select site selectors. And he came into a meeting with our then 24 municipalities that made up the region and said, who's from, pick a community, St. Albert. And, six or seven people put up their hands and everybody was hooting and hollering. And he said, who cares? Because international businesses do not care. What they're looking for is mass. They're looking for innovation. They're looking for assets. And when you look at the regional approach as opposed to an individual municipality approach, you bring all of the parts of an ecosystem to the table. And in the case of the Edmonton region, our massive fabrication facilities are outside the city of Edmonton. The airport is outside the city of Edmonton. The large industrial heavy pet chem is outside the city of Edmonton. But the talent, 8 post-secondaries that are producing, 30,000 graduates a year with 130,000 students are in the city of Edmonton. The world-class entertainment is in the city of Edmonton. Most of the housing choice is in the city of Edmonton. So it took the whole region to really develop a value proposition that, quite frankly, would really start to showcase why this is a great place to invest.
2018 is when Edmonton Global was formed. When you look at that span of time, then is that strategy of banding together, has it yielded fruit? Has it been something that you can look back on now and say it worked?
Yeah, we're well over $5 billion of net new investment that have come in, and that's only the ones that we've had a part in, right? There's been lots more investment. So if you think about, we're very focused in 5 core sectors, and in those 5 core sectors, one of them, you would not think about the Edmonton region as the place that life sciences, for example, is going to really make its mark. Well, we've had over $500 million of investment over the last 5 years in health and life science here because of the way we've been able to position this story.
Right. And this is one of the things that I absolutely love. And this is how I managed to get myself obsessed with local innovation ecosystems to begin with. is this whole idea that there's a notion of local uniqueness. Edmonton's on the map, and it's its own unique culture, its own unique place for a variety of reasons. And then all of a sudden, you end up getting unexpected areas, unexpected growth. In life sciences, perhaps, is one of those examples. So, how did this happen?
Well, some of it is actually looking at the asset base we have, building a business case that would explain why this is a good place for investment, and then going after it. And I would say to you, there's a couple things. So first of all, COVID convinced Canada that we needed to get better at reshoring some of the pandemic response capabilities. So in Canada, we didn't have a small molecule or antiviral production capability to meet pandemic requirements in Canada. So we put together a proposition, and that was funded by the provincial government, the federal government, and private sector. So we're building out a $200 million, be open in 2026, small molecule or antiviral that will produce 70 million doses of antiviral a year. Additionally, we're added fill finish, so large scale fill finish, the first one of its kind in Canada. So we'll be able to put those vaccines that are put in your arm via a vial, transfer the vaccine into that vial so it can go into your arm. All of that is possible because we have the expertise here that knows how to manufacture things. They are supported by an incredibly talented workforce at the University of Alberta, but not just them, but others, practitioners of this. And it was really about positioning for a need that the government of Canada said, we've got a gap here. How do we fill it? And we presented a business case to fill it.
Hmm.
But that's just, can I just say, that's just in pandemic response and things like that. But the other thing is that it's some of it is those untold stories. Like there's a gentleman here called Dr. Shapiro. Dr. Shapiro announced the Edmonton Protocol in 2001, which is essentially using stem cell to cure diabetes. So I know of an individual that has a type 1 diabetic. He has been off insulin medicine for 22 years because he's taking this stem cell treatment. So we're now at a point where we think Dr. Shapiro is at a point where he believes that he can cure diabetes. And I'm just trying to raise the money now to actually do the human trials on the next version of this that will cure both type 1 and type 2. And when you think about there's 800 million people in the world with diabetes or about to be diabetic, we're talking about solving diabetes globally right here in the Edmonton region. And so that's what motivates me.
Edmonton seems to have done an outstanding job in terms of forming new relationships that have enabled you to attain scale, that has attracted FDI and is retaining talent and doing some really smart things. What do you think about those key relationships? I mean, where were the big drivers in there? And when you look at those big drivers, those key relationships, does that scale provincially? Does it scale nationally? What sorts of things need to be done that Edmonton has done well at the local level that we're not seeing at levels beyond that?
So I think a great example is affordability, right? Affordability is on all Canadian minds. I mean, the most affordable major metro region in the country is the Edmonton region. Last year, they built over 18,000 homes. We built more rental accommodations in the Edmonton region than Toronto did. And why? Because our builders are building. So if you think about our population just in the city of Edmonton, so not in the surrounding region, which also grew, went up by 5.8%, or about 60,000 people. So 18 plus thousand homes actually accommodates that 60,000 person growth. So that's why homes here are still $400,000 for a single dwelling home on average.
Hmm.
In Calgary, they're 600,000. In Halifax, they're 600,000. In Ottawa, it's probably what, $800,000 or something for an average home. And the reason why is because we're builders in this region are building sufficient homes for the uptick. And we're now, I mean, City of Edmonton just got a million a couple of years ago. Now they're at 1.2 million. The region itself was 1.4. Now we're hitting 1.7 million. So we are building the homes. Now we're not keeping up with schools or hospitals yet, but in terms of homes, we're building sufficient to meet our growth. And that's why housing prices here are still very, very steady. And to give you a good example, is 85% of our post-secondaries graduates
Hmm.
remain in the Edmonton region.
That's huge, actually.
It's
That
massive.
strikes me as being a major competitive advantage.
Oh, it's
Hmm.
massive. And when you think about the University of Alberta is NAIT is the largest polytechnic school in Canada. The University of Alberta is ranked in the top 5 in the country, top 100 in the globe, top business school in Canada, 4 of the 6 STEM programs, produces more engineers per capita than any other school in Canada. So we have all these component parts, and we can afford to buy a house here and raise a family and go to a hockey game.